This is the pre-calculus 9-week unit exam review. I'm going to go ahead and work as many problems as I can. Please work these out with me. For each function, determine the real zeros and state the multiplicity of any repeated zeros. So we have negative x squared plus 2x minus 1, and we're going to set it equal to 0. Okay, since I really don't like to have a negative on the leading coefficient, I'm going to multiply both sides by -1. So -1 times negative x squared gives you x squared. -1 times 2x gives you -2x. And then -1 times -1 gives you +1 equals 0. Since 0 times -1 is going to give you 0. Now we're going to use the factor sum method. We are going to find the factors of 1. That will give me a -2 when we add them. So we have -1 times -1 gives you 1, and then -1 plus -1 gives you -2. So we have x minus 1, and then we have x minus 1 equals 0. So you see how we are repeating two roots? So that would be a multiplicity of 2. That means we're repeating two roots. So we have x minus 1 equals 0. And since it's repeated, I know that x is equal to 1. So the answer is C, since the roots repeat. For number 5, we're going to find the factors of 16. And we notice that 4 times 4 gives you 16, and it also gives you 8, and that's what we're looking for. So we have x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals 0. And once again, we have x minus 4 times x minus 4 is equal to 0. Now, on the one before it, I had x minus 1 equal to 0. I could have written it twice, but I'm going to do it here since just to prove my point that there are two roots that are the same. So here we have x equals 4, and we have x equals 4. So this is also, the answer is 4, and we have a multiplicity. Oh, I'm sorry. X plus 4, x plus 4. So the answer is x equals -4. So once again, we have a multiplicity of 2, so your answer is C. Multiplicity means that the roots are just repeated. Okay. We're going to be multiplying these complex numbers, and so we're going to use the FOIL method. We have 6 plus I times -1 plus I. 6 times -1, -6. 6 times I is plus 6I. I times -1 gives you -I. And then I times I gives you I squared. And I use the FOIL method. So you have -6 plus 5I. I squared is going to be -1, so it's -1. Remember that the first part is going to be the real, so it's -7 plus 5I. So your answer is A. For number 9, we're going to go ahead and multiply these complex numbers. So we're going to continue to use the FOIL method. -2 minus 6I times -6 plus 5I. So -2 times -6 gives you 12. -2 times 5I gives you -10I. -6I times -6 gives you plus 36I. And then we have -6I times 5I gives you -30I squared. So we have 12 plus 26i negative 30 times negative 1. So we have 12 plus 26i plus 30. So we have 42 plus 26i. So your answer is A. I went ahead and used the FOIL method. For this problem, we're trying to find the increasing and decreasing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and break this into intervals, just like I've done before. And when you're doing intervals, you're always going from left to right. So if I use my pen and I trace, and I'm going from left to right, I know that my pen is increasing. And it's increasing over what x values? So it's going to be increasing in this interval from negative infinity. And of course, it goes from negative infinity all the way up to the value of 2. Okay, and right here we have x equals 2. Of course, remember that the actual number 2, we don't have brackets because 2 is in transition. So that's increasing. So now if I use the green or the blue to continue to trace, you notice that my graph is decreasing after 2. So this is decreasing, and it's from 2, and it goes all the way. Remember, this is going to be infinity, and this is negative infinity, from 2 to infinity, and of course it's parentheses. There is no constant. So your answer is D. Your answer is D. So for number 14, we're trying to figure out what are the intervals of increasing and decreasing. Once again, I'm going to use my yellow marker to indicate going from left to right where it's increasing. You notice that right here it is increasing, and it starts decreasing at negative, I'm kind of estimating negative 0.7. So increasing, goes from, of course we're talking about from negative infinity, and it stops right at negative 0.7, increasing. And then right here it starts increasing again here from 0 to, so I'm going to put a union, 0, comma, it looks like 0.7 also. So it's increasing from negative infinity to negative 0.7. It starts decreasing from negative 0.7 to 0, and then it also starts decreasing from 0.7 to positive infinity. So I'm going to use the red to indicate where it's decreasing. So decreasing, I'm going to put it right here, decreasing. It appears to be decreasing from negative 0.7 to 0, union, since it jumps, 0.7 to infinity. Remember, we're finding the interval over the x values. So I'm going to write interval over x values. Remember that it is not ordered pairs. These are not ordered pairs. This is actually an interval from negative infinity to negative 0.7, and then of course it's also increasing from 0 to 0.7. It stops, that little piece stops, and then it starts decreasing again from 0.7 to positive infinity. The next type of problems is actually function operation. This one says h minus g. So it's going to be 3x plus 3 minus parentheses x plus 3. Distribute the negative 1. 3x plus 3 minus x minus 3. 3x minus x is 2x. 3 minus 3 is 0. So h minus g is 2x. It's going to be A. Number 22, you have f plus g of A. So it's actually A plus 1 plus A squared plus 3A. So to write it in formal notation, the right notation, you have a standard form. A squared plus A squared goes first. Remember the highest exponent. A plus 3A is 4A. So f plus g of A gives you A squared plus 4A. Actually, it's A squared plus 3A plus 1. So 22, we have f plus g of A, which is A plus 1 plus A squared plus 3A. So we have A squared plus A plus 3A gives you 4A plus 1. So your answer is D. (24), we're going to go ahead and multiply g times h. So we have g times h. So we have negative 2x minus 1 times 3x plus 2. Negative 2x times 3x gives you negative 6x squared. Negative 2x times 2 gives you negative 4x. Negative 1 times 3x gives you negative 3x. Negative 1 times 2 gives you negative 2. So you have negative 6x squared minus 7x minus 2. So it's B. We're going to go ahead and do 26. We have h times g of x. So we have 3x plus 5 times 4x minus 3. 3x times 4x gives you 12x squared. 3x times negative 3 gives you negative 9x. 5 times 4 gives you plus 20x. And then 5 times negative 3 gives you negative 15. So you have 12x squared plus 11x minus 15. So your answer is D. 28, we have h plus g of n. So it's 4n minus 1 plus n cubed plus 5n. So you want to go ahead and start with the highest exponent. So you have n cubed plus 4n plus 5n gives you 9n minus 1. So your answer is B. (29), 31, and 33 is composition. So we have F and then we have G of n. So whatever G of n is going to go into F of n. So we're going to have F G of n is going to be 3n minus 2. And we know that F of n is negative, and then whatever the input is, 3n minus 2. So it's negative 3n plus 2. So the answer is C. 31, we have G, and then we have F of x. So we have G, and then you got to tell me what is F of x. F of x is 4x minus 4. So wherever you see an x, you're going to input 4x minus 4. Therefore, I have 4 parentheses plus 5. So what's going to go in there? 4x minus 4. That is our input. So you have 4 times 4x gives you 16x. 4 times negative 4 gives you negative 16 plus 5. So you have 16x, negative 16 plus 5, negative 11. So G of F of x gives you 16x minus 11. G of F of x gives you 16x minus 11. F of G of n gives you negative 3n plus 2. That is composition. 33 has h of g of t. So you have h, and your input is g of t. G of t is 2t minus 2. That is the input. So if we look at h is going to be t squared plus 3 times t. So the input is going to be 2t minus 2. 2t minus 2, that's going to be squared. And then you have 2t minus 2, and that's going to be multiplied by 3. So you have 3 times 2t minus 2, which gives you 6t minus 6. 2t minus 2 to the second power. So we have to do it somewhere here. 2t minus 2, 2t minus 2, 4t squared minus 4t minus 4t plus 2. So what you have is 4t squared minus 8t plus 2, no, plus 4. 4 plus 4 plus 6t minus 6. So you have 4t squared. Negative 8t plus 6t gives you negative 2t. 4 minus 6 gives you negative 2. So your answer is C. Number 35, we're finding the inverse of each function, and you have y equals negative 4 plus the fifth root of 16x over 2. If you're going to find the inverse, you got to switch the x and the y, so you have x equals negative 4 plus the fifth root of 16y over 2. And since you're solving for y, you first have to multiply both sides by 2. So you have 2x equals negative 4 plus the fifth root of 16y. You see how you have a negative 4 there? You're going to have to add 2 to both sides. Add 4 to both sides. So you have 2x plus 4 is equal to the fifth root of 16y. Raise the left side to the fifth power. Raise the fifth root to the fifth power, and those two will cancel. So you have 2x plus 4 raised to the fifth is equal to 16y divided by 16. So the inverse of h is 2x plus 4 raised to the fifth power divided by 16. We have y equals the cube root of x plus 1 plus 1. We have to switch the x and the y. So now we're going to go ahead and solve for y. We subtract 1 from both sides. So you have x minus 1 is equal to the cube root of y plus 1. And you notice that we have a cube root, so we are going to raise it to the third power. So you have x minus 1, and that will be raised to the third power. Remember that the cube root and the power 3 cancel, so you're left with y plus 1. You subtract 1 from both sides, so we have y equals x minus 1 raised to the third power minus 1. So the proper notation, we have the inverse of f is equal to x minus 1 raised to the third power minus 1. So your answer is D. For 39, we are going to find the inverse. We're going to write the inverse. So we have y equals 1 over x plus 2 minus 3. We are going to switch the x and the y, so we have x equals 1 over y plus 2 minus 3. We're going to add 3 to both sides. So we have x plus 3 equals 1 over y plus 2, and that's a 0. So now we're going to multiply both sides by y plus 2. Y plus 2. These two cancel. So we have y times x gives you yx. Y times 3 gives you 3y. 2 times x gives you 2x. 2 times 3 gives you 6 equals 1. So we're going to group the items that are alike, which is yx and 3y. We're going to keep that together. We're going to subtract 6. And so we have yx plus 3y plus 2x equals -5. We're going to subtract 2x. So we have yx plus 3y equals -5 minus 2x. We're going to factor a y. So we have x plus 3 equals -5 minus 2x. And then we're going to divide both sides by x plus 3. So we should have an equation that is -2x minus 5 over x plus 3. Expand vertically means that it's going to be stretched. Reflection you're going to have to use a negative. So for example, we have f of x equals, it's going to be vertically stretched by a factor of 3, so it's going to be 3. That means the graph is going to get narrower. And then the absolute value of x, now that's not going to reflect it. You need a negative to reflect it. So let me go ahead and rewrite it again. So we have f of x equals, negative means reflection, vertical stretch is 3, absolute value of x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you the solution on Desmos. So I have y equals the absolute value of x, which is the parent function, and I have y equals negative. The negative is going to reflect it over the x-axis. The 3 is going to stretch it vertically, and then you have the absolute value. So you notice it gets narrower. So the answer to this question is C. Transform the given function f of x as described and write the resulting function as an equation. So f of x equals x cubed. So that is the parent function. What we want to do is we want to reflect it over the x-axis and translate 4 units to the left. So to reflect it, you will have to have a negative in front of the x cubed. So that's what I'm going to write here. I'm going to write a negative right in front. So look at Desmos here. So you notice it changed directions. Now, in regards, it reflected over the x-axis. Now I want to translate it 4 units to the left. So I'm going to write the new equation. So you have f of x equals negative. It is parentheses and it is raised to the 3rd power. So to move it to the left, you are going to have to add 2. And so look what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write parentheses here. And I'm going to go ahead and add 2 units. And you notice the red function is 2 units to the left. And that's what they wanted. So the answer to this will be B. And the answer for 41 was B also. So the parent function for 45 is 1 over x. Now I know that I want to translate it 1 unit up, so all I have to do to f of x, if you notice, look what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add 1, right? and you notice it went up 1 unit. Now the question is, how do I compress horizontally? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a 2 here. And then I'm going to write another function. So I think the answer to this will be the A. It will be A. Why? Because you notice that it is being compressed horizontally. In other words, it's being, I guess I'm going to use the word squished. It's getting closer to the y-axis. Now, if I compare it to the parent function, and let me use a different color for the parent function so it can stand out. So the parent function is the darker color. Unfortunately, I can't change the color, but you notice that it is getting closer to the y-axis, so that is a compression. So the answer is A. So let me write down. It's going to be g of x is equal to 1 over 2x plus 1. That plus 1 is going to shift it up 1 unit, and that 2 in the denominator is going to make it compress horizontally. I'm going to use Desmos for the rest of the problems here. Describe the transformations necessary to transform f of x into g of x. I do know that minus 2 is going to shift it down. That negative x, I know that the negative is over here. It's going to reflect over the x-axis. Let's see what happens here. I'm going to go ahead and graph it. So you notice it goes down 2 units, and it reflects over the y-axis. So it reflects over the y-axis and translates 2 units down, so the answer is C. The answer is C. Let's go ahead and do 49 next. So think about it while I graph this in Desmos. So for 49, I have the square root of x. Like I told you earlier, that negative outside the square root is going to reflect it over the x-axis, but the minus 2 will shift it to the, I'm going to go ahead and show it, shift it to the right. So your answer is reflect over the x-axis and translate 4 units to the right. So it's D. The answer is D. (52), we're going to go ahead and do this transformation, describe this transformation. That negative that's on the outside of 1 over x minus 2, that's going to reflect it over the x-axis. But that minus 2, x minus 2, is going to shift the graph 2 units to the right. So you're going to see that right now. I'm going to go ahead and show it. You see the orange is the parent function. The green is the new function. You notice that it has been reflected over the x-axis, and it did shift 2 units to the right. So reflect over the x-axis, translated 2 units to the right, so your answer is A. The next one we have f of x equals x cubed. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to x cubed. So now we have a cubic function, and we have 1/2. Then we have x minus 2 and that's raised to the third power. And you notice that 1/2 is going to make it wider. That -2 is going to shift it to the right. Compress vertically by a factor of 2. Translate 2 units to the right. So your answer is A. Your answer is A. Okay, I did all the problems. What I like for you to do is make sure that you do them with me as you prepare for the exam. There's only 2 things that you'll be doing this week. It's the review and the exam. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to see what you've done from last week, because last week was just actually notes and then that activity. So I'm going to follow up with the notes and the activity. If there's any work that's missing, please turn it in as soon as possible. Thank you, guys.